Joe, premier matchup, Big 12 versus SEC, Oklahoma State versus Arkansas. It appears to be the good one, man. Look, Oklahoma State was in the Big 12 title game a year ago. They have arguably the best running back in the country in Ollie Gordon. Mm-hmm. And then, Joe, I know that it's Arkansas Pine Bluff. I get this, what I'm about to say. However, Bobby Petrino and his offense carries a lot of weight, and Taylon Green looked pretty serviceable last week. So now it feels like that this game might be a really good one. Arkansas versus Oklahoma State. What do you think?
Well, so that's the big point here is that I think on paper coming from the offseason, it was really easy to say, hey, this is just going to be a quick bump in the road for Oklahoma State to compete for a Big 12 championship game. And I don't think that's the case. I think that Arkansas really flashed some serious offensive explosiveness. They put up 70 points. I know that we're not trying to overreact to a game against Arkansas Pine Bluff, but to do some of the things that they did really shows the potency that they have. I think that Oklahoma State is exactly what we thought that they were. What impressed me a little bit more than what I thought that they had coming into the season, it felt like their offense and the receivers are more explosive than they were last year. I thought that Brennan Presley played really good against South Dakota State. Yes. And I think if they need quick points, they can produce it. That passing attack could be improving by a step forward, but I'll save my take on how
Alan Bowman now.
I'm not giving Alan Bowman props, man. We'll see how he plays against Arkansas. I'm not giving that kid props after that game, but.
So look, here's the thing when we talk about Oklahoma State. So I have three main points going into this game. South Dakota State exploited, Oklahoma State in one key area. The Will D kid, the wide receiver from South Dakota State, Joe, he went absolutely bananas. He had over 150 yards and a touchdown, 170 yards and 150 yards and a touchdown, 7 catches. Does Arkansas have somebody like that? And here's the thing. Bobby Petrino, when he finds a weakness, is going to exploit it. So when I look at Arkansas and I'm like, hey, man, if South Dakota State can get these guys open and exploit your defense, what does Bobby Petrino do? However, Joe, Arkansas did play Arkansas Pine Bluff. And I know that they look very efficiently on offense. Look, they scored on 10 drives. All 10 drives. That's never happened. Joe, me and you can't go on College Football 25 and do that against FCS Southeast. That's not going to happen.
I've done it. I've done it a couple times. All right, I'll cut you off. Ignore me.
Okay, debatable. But I think that this is an interesting matchup. Does Arkansas have the matchups on the outside where they can win and that Bobby can exploit after you just saw South Dakota State do that? Now, Joe, I'm going to push back on one thing. I thought Alec Bowman played a pretty Alec Bowman, excuse me, or Alan Bowman, excuse me.
Yep.
Alan Bowman played a very serviceable game, man. 25 of 34, 267, and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Even had a couple of quarterback draws in there, got the first down, kept the chains moving. You know what he felt like? I know that this is going to be an old reference for you, maybe not. He's a less athletic Jason White from Oklahoma, right? It doesn't necessarily, and well, Jason White won the Heisman. That's probably a bad comp, but nevertheless, they remind me of one another. Not going to overly flash you with the traits, but he did make a lot of good decisions. I thought it was a little bit more accurate. Here's the thing, though, man. Ollie Gordon against that linebacking core. Now, I think Arkansas's defensive line is really good and can be really good. I don't know about your linebacking core yet. And I think, look, man, Ollie Gordon, not only did he run the football on Saturday, Joe, he caught a touchdown pass, 4 catches, 40-plus yards, was serviceable out of the backfield in the passing game. That, for me, too, is going to be a big key in this one.
I got to be honest, Blake, I lean Arkansas in this matchup, which I guess for some reason I'm an Oklahoma State hater this year. I thought they played great against South Dakota State, and they didn't fall for the trap like a lot of teams seemingly almost did last week, like we talked about with NC State. I think that Ollie Gordon could make or break this game because if he's able to have success against what is the best unit for Arkansas, which is their defensive line, if they're able to have success against Landon Jackson and company, they're going to win the football game. But the reason why I lean Arkansas, I just think that this rushing attack is exactly what Bobby Petrino cooks together, and it's got all of the perfect pieces. Jaquindon Jackson was unbelievable in that game. And again, I know that this is against a bottom tier, like a bottom 10th percent FCS program. They're not competitive. They're nothing like South Dakota State that won national championships. But Jaquindon Jackson looked really good, and Taylon Green looked like a transformed player. At Boise State, he flashed some things. We saw the traits. We saw the athleticism.
Looked a lot leaner too. Like he looked
yeah, he did look a little leaner. I did notice that as well. But Bobby Petrino loves these tall, long, and very fast quarterbacks, and he knows how to unlock them. He looked fluid. He looked cerebral. I just think that when we throw in an athlete like that in an SEC type roster into a game like this, that they can eke out a late win. I mean, it gives me a little vibes of when Arkansas played Texas a couple of years ago, where we thought that Texas was going to be really good that year, and they were a competitive team. I don't think they finished that great that season, but we thought that they could be competitive, and Arkansas ended up beating them.
Right.
This is where my realness though comes down to. If Vanderbilt did what they did against Virginia Tech, what do we think is going to happen here with Arkansas? I'm not trying to do the transitive property because there is no direct parallels there, but it feels like this season,
what you're doing then.
This season, it feels like there's more separation than any year between the SEC and the Big Ten and the rest of the conferences. So I'm just kind of putting the flag up here that Arkansas is much closer to Oklahoma State than I think people realize.
I don't disagree that they're closer. Like I think that this is going to be a very, very close match.
Very close game. Very
close game. I think both teams are very evenly matched. And look, to Arkansas fans, that's a win. Because in the beginning of the season, Joe, I mean, at least I came in here and thought that they might be one of the worst three teams in the conference. Look, Taylon Green, Joe, I thought he made some really good passes. I also thought he made some very chaotic passes. And the question I have, too, is I know that the Will D kid from South Dakota State went off. Does Arkansas have a guy on the outside that can do that? I mean, maybe they do, but we got to see it. Now, remember, during the offseason, I got some pretty serious hate from the Arkansas faithful about Tesla.
Suggesting, yeah, that was insane.
And here's the thing. He was your leading receiver yesterday. But, Joe, I got to be real with you on this one. I don't hate what you're saying in reference to that you're leaning Arkansas in this one because I think it's so close. I think it's within a touchdown game of one another. I think it's that close. But I just got to see Arkansas do it. Right? Like, I mean, there comes a part where you're playing Arkansas Pine Bluff, who, by the way, San Diego State would be probably a 17 to 18-point favorite over them.
South Dakota State. Sorry, I don't mean to correct you, but FCS fans will get mad at you.
I don't care about FCS fans. But thank you for correcting me. South Dakota State. I mean, Joe, you guys, you have an FCS show. You talk about FCS football. You know a lot about South Dakota State. Mm-hmm. I mean, South Dakota State beating them 44-20. I mean, that level of FCS opponent.
It was an impressive win. It was definitely an impressive win.
But when you play Arkansas Pine Bluff, I mean, come on. Now,
that's where the difficulty. I don't mean to cut you off. That's where the difficulty comes into play here because
correct. Are they legit?
Right.
Because Joe, what if this offense goes out there and sputters? You know, like I think of a guy like Anthony Richardson who had an incredible game, one against Utah, and then had some serious struggles. Is that Taylon Green? Like, Joe, he still was a 55, 56, or if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, and I will be wrong. 55% completion percentage guy last year. If I'm not mistaken, you could probably look that up for me if you want to.
Yeah, I'm going.
But I think that's
I think you might be right, though. I think you might be right.
Okay, so, I mean, when he plays tougher opponents, how does he look? Here's the thing for me if Arkansas wins. You're going to have to just let Taylon Green be Taylon Green, right? Like, go full Cam Newton on him because they're going to run this wacky 3-3-5. But I'm going to tell you this too, man. Gundy, look, people overlook the mullet. And I will, like, look, he's got a lot of 10-win seasons, Joe, and those don't come by mistake. So I think it's within a touchdown game here. I don't want to pick a team yet because I don't flip a coin for my pick. I really think Arkansas can go in there and do it. But this is why I lean not on not picking Arkansas. This game's in Stillwater. All right.
Right.
And look, it's not like when Texas came to town and to Fayetteville and they put the patty smack all over them. Okay, well, that was impressive. I'm not going to lie. It's very impressive. At the same time, man, Stillwater's a tough place to win. Ask Oklahoma last year how tough that was.
Ultimately, Oklahoma State definitely has the more established team, and just general logic dictates that they would win this game. I don't know why. I just have this gut feeling. I have this gut feeling that Arkansas is going to pull off the upset. Part of it stems a little bit from the desperation that Arkansas has. I kind of think the way that we saw this offense was like super opened up and was creative under Bobby Petrino was not the version of the Texas A&M offense that Bobby Petrino was calling last year. It was really Bobby Petrino's offense in the game against Arkansas Pine Bluff. I think because they have nothing to lose. And Bobby Petrino also on top of this, even if there is anything to lose, is to prove, hey, the best part of this team was the offense. Maybe you should hire me to take over this Arkansas job. With all of these dynamics in play, I give a little bit of that love to Arkansas in this situation, that they need to win a game like this to live to see another day. And you have to win. If you lose these non-conference games against a lower conference, it really, really kills you if you're Sam Pittman. You need to get this victory, and that slight extra desperation and who needs to win more in a close game could be enough to push them over.
Pittman.
Yeah.
It's Sam Pittman. Look, I just don't want to overreact to them scoring 70 points. Best thing that they did, man, you brought up Jaquindon Jackson, 8 carries, 101 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Taylor Green also had 2 touchdowns on the ground. I believe in Bobby and what he does offensively as a play caller. Again, it's kind of like approve it because, look, man, last season still sticks on my mind too. And, Joe, you got Phil Steele, who's really good about what he does. He graded their linebacker room the worst in America, okay? And let me just tell you something. You push back on me on this for a long time this offseason, but I'm going to tell you this right now, and hear me close. I'm not saying that this Oklahoma State offense is going to dominate the Arkansas defensive line at all. I don't think that that's happening. But, Joe, they got all 5 guys returning, and they still had a 1,700-yard rusher last year. They might not have any prospects. They may not be an elite dudes, but they are cohesive. And I'm going to tell you something. You know what South Dakota State did really well? They went after them on the edges. Don't rely on your defensive line here. That you have a blueprint of how to stop them. Go and do it. But I mean, look, that's where I stay here. I don't know who to pick, but I think it's going to be a really good game. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's where I lean. Just not lean, but that's the final conclusion for me is close game. I think that Arkansas can eke it out. If Oklahoma State wins, I'm not shocked in either direction. This video is sponsored by the online fitness training camp presented by Chris Gates Fitness. When I first started talking about Chris, about partnering with our show, not only was I excited to have a fitness sponsor for our pod, but more importantly, when I found out about how he can help people achieve their goals, I was even more bought in, because when the football season starts, it is so tough to stay on top of things and also to be able to enjoy yourself on Saturdays when it's game day. With Chris Gates Fitness's online training camp, you're going to be able to effectively stay focused, consistent, burn fat, build muscle, and do it with a like-minded community of individuals working towards the same thing. On top of this, you're going to be able to get direct coaching from Chris and the ability to ask him questions with an access to a live Q&A where you can get direct personalized support from Chris himself. Don't wait any longer. If you're trying to get in shape during this fall and you want to be able to do it with the right support system, head on over to chrisgatesfitness.com/training camp or click the link in the description And you need to do it today because you can get the first month. Personal training is expensive, folks. The first month for only $10 when you use that code Ruffino Joe. Don't wait any longer. Head on over there. BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.